Greetings all. Today's class is about growth hormone or somatotrophin, and I am Dr. Mudassir, Assistant Professor of Physiology. Before I go to the subject proper, I would like to discuss with you a common case scenario. Here is a mother who has brought his child with a complaint of reduced weight or his thinly built child when compared to his peer group children or children in his locality. Now, the doctor has examined the child and taken complete history. He doesn't find anything abnormal even in his lab reports, except for the fact that there is reduced amount of sleep and disturbed sleep. A judicious doctor in this scenario would advise to increase and improve the protein content in his diet and improve the duration and quality of sleep. When this was advised, and after 3 months when the parent came, it was astonishing to see that the child had a very proper and very good catch up growth, and it had grown well and gained a good weight. Now, why this happened? How could improvement in protein diet and sleep and improving the sleep could bring this result of proper growth in the child? What could be the cause? Let us discuss in today's class. So in today's class, the specific learning objectives of this class are: at the end of the class, the first MBBS student should be able to describe the factors affecting growth hormone secretion and its regulation, explain the mechanism of action and various physiological effects of growth hormone, explain the role of somatomedin, and understand its clinical application. So let's begin. This growth hormone, basically it is a polypeptide containing 191 amino acids, which is synthesized and stored in somatotrophs of anterior pituitary. Secretion of this growth hormone is highly pulsatile, which can be seen in this graph. It occurs at a rate of pulses. These pulses occur at a rate of 1 hour in 24 hours. These pulses could vary from 10 to 20 pulses. A pulse means a phenomena in which there is increase in the rate of secretion and then fall. That is a pulsatile manner. The basal level of growth hormone varies between 1.6 to 3 nanogram per ml. This basal level also is very highly variable with the stage of development, which is about 6 nanograms in the young age and in 3 nanograms per ml in middle age, and as the age advances in the old age it is 1.6 nanogram per ml. Now let us see the diurnal variation uh, of growth hormone. Here you can see on x-axis there is the duration of the day, and on y-axis there is the level of growth hormone. You can see there are several pulses of growth hormone secretion seen, which are mainly occurring during the midnight immediately after sleep. It is said that the maximum amount of growth hormone is secreted in a pulsatile manner uh, only after 2 hours of deep sleep, and it is said that 70% of growth hormone is secreted during this period of deep sleep. Above this, the growth hormone secretion is also affected by developmental stage of life. As I have stated earlier, it is it steadily increases from childhood to puberty, which reaches about 6 nanogram per ml at the time of puberty, and in adult life it falls down to 3 nanogram per ml, and in the old age it falls down to a very low level of 1.6 nanogram per ml. On above these factors which are affecting the growth hormone secretion, there are other factors also. The main factors are the stressors. The stressors could be starvation, severe exercise, trauma, hypoglycemia, severe hypoglycemia. These are the main stressors which stimulate growth hormone secretion. The other factors as I have earlier stated, it is the deep sleep, particularly the stage 2 and stage 4 of deep sleep. Other hormonal factors are testosterone, estrogen, thyroxine, growth hormone releasing hormone, and ghrelin. And also the main important nutritive factor which increases the growth hormone or which increases the growth hormone secretion is arginine containing proteins. So we can keep it in mind in our clinical practice while advising our patients to take arginine containing protein diet. That is the reason in our clinical scenario just now which I have narrated, in improving the protein diet and improving the sleep, the child had proper growth. In other words, the child who don't take protein diet and don't sleep properly, they don't grow properly. They don't have proper weight gain. On the contrary, this growth hormone secretion with the sleep occurs only in children. Okay, improvement of growth, improvement of growth with improvement of duration of sleep occurs only in children. Whereas in adults, definitely there is growth hormone secretion, but it is utilized for maintenance of the structure of adult body. There is no growth after the fusion of epiphyseal growth plates. Okay, so that is the importance of growth and taking proper protein diet, which is required for daily wear and tear in us. Now let us see the factors which inhibit the growth hormone secretion. The main factor which inhibits the growth hormone secretion is obesity. Other factors are growth hormone inhibitory growth hormone itself, somatomedin, and increased blood glucose level. So these are the factors which inhibit growth hormone. Above these factors, hypothalamus is the main regulator of growth hormone secretion. How it regulates? Let us see. Hypothalamus regulates growth hormone secretion by releasing three hormones. Number one, growth hormone releasing hormone, somatostatin, and ghrelin. Out of these three, the main hormone which increases the secretion of growth hormone is growth hormone releasing hormone. This hormone is released under the influence of hypothalamus, which is stimulated by following stimuli, that is stress, exercise, starvation, acute hypoglycemia. These are the factors which stimulate hypothalamus to release growth hormone releasing hormone. Upon release, this binds with the somatotropes, increases the growth hormone synthesis and secretion. When the growth hormone is released, it has negative feedback influence on hypothalamus for further release of growth hormone releasing hormone. That's how growth hormone regulates its release. This is a short feedback loop. Upon release, the growth hormone also acts on its target tissue. One of the important target tissue is hepatocytes, liver, and from liver it causes production of insulin-like growth factor, which I'll be discussing later. This insulin-like growth factor has negative feedback influence on somatotropes for the release of further growth hormone, and also it stimulates somatostatin, which inhibits the further growth hormone release. This is how hypothalamus, with the help of growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone inhibitory hormone and insulin like growth factor, regulates growth hormone release. The third hormone which is released from hypothalamus is ghrelin. Ghrelin is mainly released from stomach, but minute quantities of ghrelin is also released from hypothalamus. The main function of ghrelin is to induce food intake behavior in the organism. It not only causes food intake behavior, it also increases growth hormone secretion. Now, when the organism takes proper food, along with the increased release of growth hormone, what happens is there is proper assimilation of the whatever food is intaken by the organism, and that intaken food is utilized for proper growth. That is how hypothalamus regulates the growth hormone secretion with the help of three hormones, that is GHRH, somatostatin, and ghrelin. Now moving on to its metabolism. Most of the growth hormone circulates in bound form to plasma protein called as growth hormone binding protein. Its T half is very less, that is 20 minutes only. It is mainly metabolized in liver, but unmetabolized form is excreted in urine in small amounts. Now let mechanism of action of growth hormone, which has both direct pathway and indirect pathway. The growth hormone acts on growth hormone receptor, which is a transmembrane protein which has extracellular domain and intracellular domain. The extracellular domain binds with growth hormone and it dimerizes. The intracellular domain has Janus kinase activity, which activates STAT proteins present inside the cell. That's why the second messenger pathway activated by growth hormone receptor is called as JAK-STAT pathway. The full form of STAT is signal transduction activator of transcription. This signal STATs, they transport across the cytoplasm, they enter the nucleus and activate appropriate genes to bring about a biological effect, that is of promotion of growth. Another pathway activated by another second messenger system activated by growth hormone receptor is phospholipase C pathway, which increases the level of MAP kinases. They also subsequently increase the amount of protein inside the cell and promote growth. One of the important products of JAK-STAT pathway is insulin-like growth factor, which initiates the indirect pathway. Now, what is this insulin-like growth factor? Insulin-like growth factor basically mediates the actions of growth hormone inside the target tissue for promotion of growth. That's why it is called as that's why it is also called as somatomedin. As it structurally resembles insulin, the pre-pro-insulin, it is called as insulin-like growth factor. Now, this insulin-like growth factor is of two types, IGF-1 and IGF-2. IGF-1 is basically called as somatomedin C, which is produced mainly in liver and target organs of growth hormone. It is produced under the influence of growth hormone, and the main action of insulin-like growth factor 1 is to promote skeletal, cartilage growth, visceral and gonadal growth. On the contrary, IGF-2 is independent of growth hormone influence. It is mainly produced in fetus, which promotes growth during fetal development. Now let us see what are the direct and indirect pathways of growth hormone. The direct pathway. By direct pathway, growth hormone basically causes three effects. Number one, hepatic gluconeogenesis, production of IGF factor 1, insulin like growth factor 1 in liver and the target tissue. In the target tissue, it acts in a paracrine way to promote growth. From the liver, it enters the circulation. The growth IGF-1 enters the circulation and acts on the target tissues. And the third important direct effect of growth hormone is increased lipolysis in adipose tissue. The indirect effect is done via insulin like growth factor 1 are all the growth promoting effects in the target tissue in a paracrine fashion. Now moving on to the next slide, which elaborates the direct and indirect effects of growth hormone. The direct effects of growth hormone are, as I have stated earlier, increases lipolysis and adipose tissue. Number two, it reduces the uptake of glucose inside the target tissue, that is the visceral organs, gonads, muscles and skeletal system. Number three, it increases the synthesis of uh, insulin like growth factor in the liver. So after it promotes insulin like production of insulin like growth factor in the liver and the target tissue, that is visceral organ, gonads, muscle and skeletal system. This insulin like growth factor initiates the indirect effect of growth hormone, that is promotion of growth, by increasing the protein synthesis, RNA and DNA synthesis, increasing the cell size and number in the visceral organs and gonadal organs, which subsequently increases the size of the organ and function of the organ. In bones, it mainly causes proliferation of chondrocytes. Besides, it also increases the amino acid uptake, increases protein synthesis, increases RNA and DNA synthesis, and also increases the collagen synthesis, which subsequently increase the cell size and number of chondrocytes. These chondrocytes are invaded by growing osteoblasts, which subsequently undergo mineralization, and there is linear growth. There is increase in the linear growth of the body. Inside the muscles, they reduce the glucose uptake and increase the amino acid uptake, and subsequently increase protein synthesis, so that there is increase in lean body mass. In the adipose tissue, growth hormone mainly causes lipolysis, which reduces the adiposity. So All these three effects, reduction in adiposity, increase in lean body mass and linear growth leads to a lean and good healthy body. Now let us see the physiological effects of growth hormone. The main important action of growth hormone in our body is to promote growth, and the growth occurs as a result of either increase in the size of the cell or increase in number of the cells. For increase in size of the cell or increase in number of the cell, it requires the building blocks of the cells, that is proteins. So growth hormone increases the growth of cell by increasing the protein content of the body. In other words, growth hormone influences the protein metabolism and promotes growth. So let us see how it influences. It affects all the metabolism, that is carbohydrate metabolism, protein metabolism, lipid metabolism and mineral metabolism for promotion of growth. First, let us consider protein metabolism. Growth hormone increases the protein content of the body by increasing the amino acid entry into the cell. Simultaneously, it increases RNA and DNA synthesis, its transcription and translation, so that more and more protein synthesis occurs. Next is carbohydrate metabolism. The main influence of growth hormone on carbohydrate metabolism is to increase plasma glucose level. It does this by increasing hepatic gluconeogenesis. Next, reduction of peripheral uptake of glucose, and by shifting the cellular metabolism from utilization of carbohydrates to lipid utilization for production of energy. In other words, it is hyperglycemic ketogenic hormone. In other words, it is a hyperglycemic ketogenic hormone. The hyperglycemia caused or induced by growth hormone promotes more and more insulin release, which acts synergistically in promotion of growth. Third one is the lipid metabolism. Growth hormone promotes lipolysis in adipose tissue, increases free fatty acids, and increases hepatic oxidation of free fatty acids to produce ketone bodies. It also enhances peripheral utilization of free fatty acids and fat for huge energy generation. Now coming to mineral metabolism. Growth hormone mainly promotes the mineralization of bones by causing positive balance in calcium, phosphate and magnesium. It does this by promoting reuptake and renal reabsorption of calcium, phosphate, sodium, and also it promotes sodium retention in the body. Now coming to how it influences the growth. It influences the growth by growth of musculoskeletal system, visceral organs and gonads. In musculoskeletal system, mainly how it influences the bone growth, let us see. The bone has got uh, different components, out of which the the outermost part here is called as epiphysis. Below it is diaphysis. Here you can see epiphysis and diaphysis. In growing children, this epiphyseal plate is intact. What growth hormone does is it increases the hyperplasia and hypertrophy of this chondrocytes. Okay, this chondrocytes hyperplasia and hypertrophy is caused mainly by insulin-like growth factor, which is induced by growth hormone. This insulin-like growth factor, which is stimulated in the bone, acts in a paracrine manner to increase the size and number of chondrocytes in epiphyseal plates. Now, when the number and size of chondrocytes increases, it causes thickening of epiphyseal plate. Simultaneously, the insulin-like growth factor also acts on osteoblasts, and the osteoblastic activity is increased, which swarm up over the growing epiphyseal plate, and that's how the linear growth occurs. Whatever epiphyseal plate thickening has occurred, on this the osteoblasts cause mineralization and cause formation of more and more osteocytes, which increases the linear growth of the bone. That's how the length of our body increases by increase in bone growth. Now moving on to muscular growth and visceral organ growth. So in similarly in muscles, growth hormone increases the size of the cell and number of the cell in the muscle, and in also in visceral organs it causes visceral organ growth by hypertrophy and hyperplasia. In gonads it increases the size of the gonads directly and indirectly by insulin like growth factor, and also it sensitizes the gonads to gonadotropins like FSH and LH. So those are the important effects of growth hormone on our body, which increases the lean mass. Number one, lean mass, that is increase in muscle content, and linear growth, that is increase in the length of the body, and reduction in adiposity, which promotes lean and fit body. That's all about physiological effects of growth hormone. Now coming to abnormalities. The abnormalities of growth hormone can be classified into the disorders related to hypersecretion and hyposecretion. Hypersecretion again are of two types. One is gigantism. It is a clinical condition resulting from hypersecretion of growth hormone in growing children before closure of epiphysis of long bones. The commonest cause of gigantism in children is pituitary microadenomas. These are the small tumors in present in the pituitary, which could be the which could be due to the tumors arising from somatotrophs. Somatotrophs are the cells which secrete growth hormone. So when they become tumorous, when they become tumor-like cells, they produce excess of growth hormone. Hence, the clinical features of gigantism could be classified into the clinical features caused due to excessive growth hormone and clinical features caused due to the pressure symptoms caused due to the tumor present in the pituitary. Now let us see what are the features due to excessive growth hormone. First is excessive abnormal height. You can see here this is the normal individual. Here is the gigantic person who is having very tall stature, and you can also see there is thick lips, microglossia, organomegaly, and one important biochemical abnormality commonly seen in hypersecretion of growth hormone is hyperglycemia, which is also called as pituitary diabetes. As I have stated earlier, the main function of growth hormone is to increase plasma glucose level, or in other words causing hyperglycemia. This hyperglycemia leads to diabetes mellitus. Now as this diabetes mellitus is having origin in pituitary adenomas, it is called as pituitary diabetes. Now let us consider the pressure symptoms. Now pressure symptoms due to the tumor are headache, visual field defects, mainly bitemporal hemianopia, and cranial nerve palsies. So these are the clinical features which we see in gigantism. Another abnormality related to hypersecretion of growth hormone is acromegaly. Acromegaly literally means the enlargement of achial parts. It is a clinical condition that occurs due to excessive growth hormone in adults after epiphyseal closure of long bones. The cause for this is pituitary adenoma. Now, as there is a closure of epiphyseal plates, there is no more lengthening of the long bones, but still there is increased thickening of the bones, especially the membranous bones. These membranous bones are the bones of skull, the skull, the hands, and the feet. These membranous bones, they undergo progressively thickening. So also the other organs present inside the body, which leads to following clinical features, that is acromegalic facies characterized by prognathism, that is protrusion of the jaw, lower mandible, protrusion of the lower jaw, that is mandible, thick lips, macroglossia, that is thick large tongue, broad and thick nose due to thickening of the nasal bridge, prominent eyebrows due to thickening of the forehead, and thick skin, thick and coarse skin. Another abnormalities seen in acromegaly are abnormal growth of acral parts, which leads to spade-like hand due to thickening of the bones in the hand, thick and wide fingers due to the thickening of phalanges, and large feet. It also causes kyphosis, that is forward bending, which is due to abnormal thickening of vertebral column. There is on examination, there is also excessive growth of internal organs leading to organomegaly, particularly cardiomegaly, hepatosplenomegaly. There is also enlargement of pancreas, kidneys, and all other vital tissues, vital visceral organs. Now, along with growth hormone, there is also excessive release of prolactin, which causes poor gonadal function. Now, there are other symptoms seen in acromegaly due to the pressure exerted by the growing tumor. As I have stated earlier, the commonest cause of acromegaly is pituitary adenoma. It exerts some pressure and causes some pressure symptoms. These pressure symptoms are, as stated previously for gigantism, it could be headache, bitemporal hemianopia, and cranial nerve palsies. The biochemical abnormalities seen in persons suffering from acromegaly are poor glucose tolerance, hypertriglyceridemia, reduced hepatic and lipoprotein lipase activity, hypercalcemia and hyperphosphatemia. When we see the lab reports, the basal growth hormone level is high along with prolactin levels which are high in 30% of cases. There is abnormally raised or abnormal results of oral glucose tolerance test in which there is increase in blood glucose level even after we give the glucose challenge to our body. And on examination of field of vision, we can see in these patients bitemporal hemianopia. On the CT scan may show small or large hypodense microadenomas. Now moving on to the differences. Both acromegaly and gigantism are caused by hypersecretion of growth hormone. But the only difference is acromegaly is caused by growth hormone secretion after the fusion of epiphysis, whereas gigantism is caused by the growth hormone secretion before the fusion of epiphysis. The differences, the other differences seen in acromegaly are generally it develops in adulthood, whereas gigantism is seen right from the childhood. The height is unaffected in acromegaly patients, whereas height is enormously high in patients who are suffering with gigantism. The common cause for acromegaly is very commonly pituitary adenoma. It is also common cause in gigantism, but other causes are McCune-Arnold syndrome, Carney complex, neurofibromatosis, and certain endocrine neoplasias. Now moving on to the conditions resulting from hyposecretion of growth hormone. One of the important clinical condition caused by hyposecretion of growth hormone is dwarfism. Now dwarfism is a clinical condition due to deficiency of growth hormone before closure of epiphysis. The clinical features in a patient who is suffering from dwarfism are short stature, normal mental activity, stout or fatness, immature faces, delicate extremities due to abnormal or hypodevelopment of extremities, sexual immaturity with or without any gonadal deficiency. Now moving on to the lab test. Lab test could be functional test and stimulation test. Function tests are mainly measurement of growth hormone. Now we know that growth hormone release is highly pulsatile, so it has to be measured either post exercise or after a stress or after 2 hours of deep sleep. Next test what we do to confirm dwarfism is stimulation test. In this test what we do is on giving growth hormone, generally the principle of this stimulation test is we know that hypoglycemia stimulates the secretion of growth hormone, and this hypoglycemia can be induced by exogenously giving exogenously insulin. So what we do in this test is we give insulin, soluble insulin of a quantity about 0.15 international units per kg body weight. Insulin per kg body weight insulin is given, and sample of blood are collected and measured for blood glucose levels at an interval of 0, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes and 120 minutes. In normal individuals, the hypoglycemia induced by insulin raises the growth hormone level to 20 nanograms per ml, whereas in patients who are suffering with growth hormone deficiency or dwarfism, their level remains at as low as 7 nanograms per ml. So those are the tests. Now the treatment is very important in these patients. They are treated by recombinant growth hormone, which is given to them. Next condition, another peculiar condition related to growth are African pygmies and Levi-Lorain dwarfism. In African pygmies, it is found that growth hormone quantity is absolutely normal, or sometimes it is even raised, but they have congenital abnormality in which they are unable to synthesize normal levels of insulin-like growth factor, which results in short stature. That's why they are called as African pygmies. Next, another condition is Levi-Lorain dwarfism. In this Levi-Lorain dwarfism, they have normal growth hormone or increased growth hormone levels, but the growth hormone receptor is resistant or not responsive to growth hormone, because of which insulin like growth factors are not produced, through which the growth hormone has indirect influence on linear growth of the body. That's why they are dwarf. That's all about the abnormalities related to growth hormone. That's all about growth hormone. To summarize, growth hormone is one of the important hormones responsible for growth of our body, which is secreted by somatotropes of anterior pituitary, and the main factors regulating it are stressors like exercise, hypoglycemia, sleep, and stage of life. This hormone promotes growth by positive protein balance, which increases the linear growth of the body and increases the lean mass of the body. That's all. Thank you.